Your best mate calls out of nowhere, says he's just checking in, asks how things are going, how you feeling, whether everything's okay at home. And something about the call feels off. The questions are a little too pointed. The concerns feel rehearsed. You hang up, and then 20 minutes later, she mentions something you said during that call, something you only told him. Or maybe it was your sister, suddenly distant, your colleagues treating you differently, your own mother asking questions that sound like they came from someone else's mouth. The people who used to be your support network are starting to feel like something else, like they're watching, reporting, working for someone who is not you. That's what flying monkeys feel like. And if you've ever had the creeping sense that the people around you have been turned, that your own relationships have been recruited into something you can't see, this episode is going to help you understand exactly what is happening. Today, we're going to break down what flying monkeys are and how they differ from triangulation. Then we'll walk through 6 specific ways flying monkeys operate, from narrative seeding to direct harassment. We'll look at the difference between people who know exactly what they're doing and people who genuinely think they're helping. And finally, we'll talk about how you protect yourself when your own support network has been compromised. For those of you who are new here, this is Stand Again, a lived experience platform for male victims of family violence. Abuse is not limited to one gender, but this channel focuses on the male perspective because it is so often dismissed or misunderstood. I need your help to make this channel grow. So if this content helps you, please like, subscribe, and add the words Stand Again into the chat. Your engagement not only helps the algorithm realize that this topic is important, but those 2 words might just help a victim of family violence find theirs. Let's start with the definition for flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are individuals recruited knowingly or unknowingly to carry out the abuser's agenda. The term comes from The Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch sends winged monkeys to do her bidding. In coercive control, flying monkeys are the people your abuser enlists to extend her reach to you. They surveil, report back, apply pressure, spread narratives, and sometimes harass you directly, all while your abuser maintains distance from the actual harm. If you watched my episode on triangulation, you might be wondering how flying monkeys are different. The distinction here matters. Triangulation is about her invoking third parties to destabilize you. She tells you that what your sister said, what her therapist thinks, what everyone at the dinner party notices. The third parties might be real or fabricated, consulted or not. The point is that she's using the idea of other people's opinions to manipulate you. She stays at the center, controlling the information. Flying monkeys are different. Flying monkeys are the third parties themselves actively participating in the abuse. They're not just being invoked in name, they're being deployed against you. They have tasks to do. They gather intelligence, deliver messages, apply pressure, damage your reputation for the abuser on their behalf. Triangulation is her telling you that everyone agrees with her. Flying monkeys are the peoples she's recruited to make that agreement operational. The tactic works through force multiplication. An abuser operating alone faces a limitation of her own presence, credibility, and energy. Flying monkeys extends her surveillance, amplifies her narrative, and apply pressure from directions you cannot anticipate. They transform your support network from resource into active threat. Flying monkeys fall into 2 categories, and understanding the difference matters for how you respond. A complicit flying monkey understands the dynamic and participates deliberately. They may share her contempt for you, have their own grievances aligned with hers, or simply enjoy the position of power that comes from being on the inside. They know what they're doing, they're choosing to do it. A duped flying monkey is different. They genuinely believe they are helping a victim, which is her, and have been convinced that you are dangerous, unstable, or abusive. Their intentions may be good. Their impact on you, however, is devastating. They think they're protecting someone vulnerable. They don't realize they've been weaponized against the actual victim. The abuser's skill lies in recruitment, finding the right people, feeding them the right information, and positioning herself so that natural protective responses serve her agenda. The mechanism exploits your trust in your own relationships. When your brother calls just to check in, you may not recognize the call as reconnaissance. When her friend appears where you are, you may attribute it to coincidence. When mutual acquaintances start asking pointed questions, you may assume genuine concern. Flying monkeys succeed because they wear the faces of friends, family, and community, people you've been taught to trust. The betrayal operates beneath the surface of apparent normalcy. Flying monkeys often operate through networks you cannot access or influence. Female friendships, mothers groups, professional networks, these communities may hear her story, form judgments, and take action without ever encountering your perspective. You're excluded by gender from the spaces where your reputation is being dismantled. By the time you realize what's happening, the network has already been turned against you. Let's take a look at the forms. So, flying monkeys serve different functions depending on what your abuser needs. Let's walk through 6 very specific ways this tactic operates. The first is narrative seeding. Narrative seeding is a flying monkey equivalent of preemptive framing, but executed by the proxies rather than her directly. She distributes the narrative load across multiple people. When several individuals start expressing similar concerns about you, the pattern now appears organic rather than orchestrated. Your network has been primed to interpret your behavior through a lens she constructed, but the concerns arrive from different directions, making coordination invisible. This is where the overlap with triangulation can feel confusing. The difference is that in triangulation, she tells you that people are concerned. In narrative seeding, the people themselves are actively spreading the concern. They're having conversations about you. They're asking each other if they've noticed you seem stressed lately. They're wondering aloud whether everything is okay at home. Each comment appears caring but carries implicit framing. By the time explicit allegations arrive, if they ever do, the ground has been prepared. The mechanism exploits the human tendency to trust patterns. One person expressing concern might be dismissed. 3 people expressing similar concerns feels like consensus, like everyone is seeing something you can't see about yourself. The seeding is often subtle, like, have you noticed he seems different lately? She's been really worried about his mood. None of it sounds coordinated, but in coercive control, all of it is. The second form is character smearing. Character smearing involves the dissemination of negative information, true, distorted, or fabricated, through intermediaries. The tactic works through social contamination. Unlike formal allegations that trigger an investigation, smearing operates through gossip, implication, and ambient reputation damage. Each disclosure is deniable in isolation. The aggregate effect, however, is devastating. She tells a friend something in confidence. That friend tells another. The information mutates as it travels, becoming more alarming, more concerning, more damning. By the time it reaches someone who knows you, the story has evolved far beyond its original form. You can't defend against accusations you do not know exist, delivered by people you cannot identify, in conversations you weren't a part of. Your reputation erodes invisibly until the damage is complete. You discover that acquaintances know private information you never shared. Social invitations dry up without explanation, professional opportunities close for unstated reasons. You notice whispered conversations that stop when you approach. People who were previously friendly start treating you with caution, and you have no idea where it's coming from because the source, which is your abuser, is hidden behind layers of social transmission. The third form is surveillance proxy. Surveillance proxy is the use of flying monkeys to monitor your behavior, movements, communications, and relationships. Your abuser maintains knowledge of your life through recruited individuals who observe and report. You may achieve physical distance from her, but you can't achieve informational separation. The surveillance proxy may be positioned naturally in your life, like a mutual friend who still socializes with you, a colleague she remains in contact with, a family member with divided loyalties. Or proxies may be deliberately inserted into spaces she once monitored. Her friends appearing at events where you are, new connections who seem unusually interested in your life. The common thread is information flowing back to her through channels you didn't know existed. She knows details about your life she shouldn't have access to. She references conversations you had with other people. She anticipates your plans before you've told her. Questions from mutual acquaintances reveal knowledge of your private discussions. You start living with the awareness or growing suspicion that your actions are being observed and reported. That awareness itself constrains your behavior even when no one is actually watching. The possibility of surveillance functions as surveillance. The fourth form is emotional pressure. Emotional pressure through flying monkeys involves deploying recruited individuals to apply guilt, shame, or obligation on you. The tactic creates the appearance of consensus. When pressure comes from several directions simultaneously, resistance feels unreasonable. You start to wonder if you really are the problem. The mechanism exploits the social pressure towards conformity. Humans are wired to calibrate their behavior against group expectations. When your family, her friends, and mutual acquaintances are all encouraging the same response, apologize to her, reconcile with her, try harder. The weight of that pressure becomes difficult to resist. Each message reinforces that you are the problem, she is the victim, and the solution lies in your accommodation of her abusive behavior. The messages may genuinely believe that they are helping. Their impact is to amplify her manipulation and control over you. Her friends reach out to mediate in her favor. Family members pressure you to apologize or comply with her demands. You receive messages about how much she's suffering because of you. You're told you're hurting the children by not giving in. Friends suggest you need to be more understanding, more patient. Guilt trips arrive by proxy. She's a mess because of you. And because the pressure comes from multiple sources, it feels like the whole world is telling you the same thing. Shut up and just put up with the abuse from your partner. The fourth form is social isolation. Social isolation through flying monkeys involves the recruitment of your own network, like family, friends, colleagues, to distance themselves from you. She does not simply build her own network, she disassembles yours. People who once formed your foundation are turned, neutralized, or convinced to withdraw. The mechanism exploits the gradual nature of social drift. Friendships don't end in confrontation, they fade. Invitations stop arriving, calls go unreturned. You may attribute this to your own behavior, to naturally drift, to being too busy to maintain connections. You don't recognize the campaign operating beneath the surface. By the time you notice your isolation, your network has been dismantled. Rebuilding requires energy you may not have and trust you may no longer be capable of extending. Long standing friendships become strained without clear cause. Family members who once supported you become neutral or hostile. You discover you've been excluded from gatherings or events. Friends become unavailable when you reach out. Your support network shrinks while hers expands. And the worst part is the feeling of being increasingly alone despite maintaining what you thought were the same relationships. The relationships haven't ended, They've been hollowed out by your abuser. The sixth form is proxy harassment. Proxy harassment is direct hostile action carried out by flying monkeys on your abuser's behalf. The tactic creates distance between her and the harm. She can deny involvement, express concern, or even appear to disapprove while the harassment continues. If you complain, she points to her own clean hands. The harassment appears to come from concerned friends, outraged family members, or community members responding to what they have been told about you from your abuser. This is where the distinction from triangulation is sharpest. Triangulation is psychological manipulation through invoked third parties. Proxy harassment is direct action by recruited third parties. The flying monkeys are doing things, sending threatening messages, showing up at your workplace, confronting you publicly, damaging your property, harassing you online. The abuse is tangible and visible, but she, your abuser, is nowhere near it. The mechanism exploits the difficulty of proving coordination. Each harassing individual may genuinely believe their actions are independent and justified. They've heard her story, they're angry on her behalf, their harassment feels righteous to them. You can't prove that she directed it, and your claims of orchestration sound paranoid. The abuse continues while she maintains the appearance of victim rather than architect. So, how do you protect yourself when your own support network has been compromised? When the people who should be helping you have been recruited to work against you? Well, there are three tools that can help. The first is to control the information flow. Flying monkeys need information to function. They need material to report back, ammunition to use against you, details to distort. The less you give them, the less they have to work with. With anyone you suspect is compromised, whether complicit or duped, limit what you share. Keep conversations surface level. Don't discuss your plans, your feelings, your struggles, your relationships. Respond to probing questions with vague, uninteresting answers. Become boring to them. This is the grey rock method, and I have a whole video on it if you want to go deeper. The core principle is simple. Stop feeding the network. The less information flows through compromised channels, the less she has to work with. This does not mean being rude or hostile. Hostility gives them something to report. It means being pleasant but empty, polite but unrevealing, present but uninteresting. You are not cutting people off, you're putting them on an information diet. The second tool is to map the network without fighting it. Your instinct may be to confront flying monkeys, to explain your side, to show them evidence to prove you're not what she's told them you are. This instinct is understandable, it's also usually futile. Complicit flying monkeys already know the truth and don't care. They're not operating from misinformation, they're operating from alignment with her. Showing them evidence won't change their position because their position isn't based on evidence. Duped flying monkeys are harder. They genuinely believe they're helping a victim. They've been fed a compelling story by someone who presented as vulnerable and afraid. You can't logic someone out of a position they didn't logic themselves into. Trying to convince them often backfires. Your attempts to explain look like exactly what she warned them about, a manipulative man trying to twist the narrative. Instead of fighting the network, map it. Work out who is compromised and who is still safe. Identify who reports back to her, who applies pressure on her behalf, and who has gone cold without explanation. You do not need to confront them or cut them off dramatically. You just need to know who they are so you can adjust what you share and where you placed trust. The third tool is to build one secure channel. The goal of flying monkeys is to leave you with no one, to dismantle your support network so completely that you have nowhere to turn. The counter is not to rebuild an entire network while you're still inside the relationship. That's too large a task and too easy to detect. The counter is to secure one channel she does not control. This might be a professional, a psychologist, a coach who understands coercive control dynamics and can help you navigate tactically. It might be an old friend she never met, someone from before the relationship who exists outside her information network. It might be a family member who lives at a distance and hasn't been drawn into the local web of influence. What matters is that this person receives information from you directly, not filtered through her network. They haven't been primed with her false narratives. They can offer perspective that isn't contaminated by her framing. When flying monkeys make you feel like the whole world has turned against you, that one secure channel reminds you that the consensus is false and manufactured. The world hasn't turned. Her network has. And her network is not the world. Flying monkeys are one of the most disorientating experiences in coercive control. It is one thing to be abused by your partner, it's another thing entirely to watch your own support network transform into an extension of that abuse. To see friends become informants, family become pressure agents, colleagues become strangers. The isolation that flying monkeys create is profound, but it's also manufactured. The people who have been turned against you are operating from her story, not from reality. The consensus against you is engineered, not organic. And the loneliness you feel is a product of a deliberate campaign, not evidence that you are actually alone in the world. You are not alone. You don't need to fight every flying monkey. You don't need to convince every duped friend or expose every complicit ally. You need to protect the information flow, understand who's been compromised, and maintain one clear channel to reality. That's enough to hold on. That's enough to plan. That's enough to eventually get out. This is Stand Again, lived experience platform for male survivors of family violence. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Your voice might just help another man find his. If you're looking for one on one support, you can book coaching with a member of the Stand Again team. Simply visit standagain.com.au, where you will also find grounded information on surviving and recovering from family violence as a man. As always, remember that no matter how many times you've been knocked down, you can stand again.